I'm gonna start about a paragraph before where the last video ended. Okay? Gonna start 10. Before that question could be considered, there was Dr. Gallon to deal with. The robot came bursting into the room before Catherine's bare feet even had a chance to pick up a chill from the floor. Please return to bed, patient Catherine, Dr. Gallon requested. Florence can see to whatever needs you might have. Derek was girding himself for another protracted argument, but Catherine surprised him. I'll go where I want, when I want, she snapped. And if you start trying to act like a ward instead of a doctor, I'll have your brain reprogrammed for basket weaving. I must protest strongly. Am I in danger of dying? No, patient Catherine, but your recovery. Then save your protest for your medical log. Patient Catherine, progress disregarded recommended rehabilitation program. Isn't it the phraseology? Derek and I are going for a walk. If you don't want me catching pneumonia, you better get me some normal clothes. And something for my feet. Any human addressed in that tone would have been clenching his fists and strongly considering using them. But Dr. Gallant only nodded slightly. I will have clothing brought. If it's not here in 5 minutes, I'm going out like this, she warned him. And don't get any ideas about following us around. If I have any problems, Derek will be there to bring me back. When the robot left, Derek stared at Catherine in amazement. How do you learn to do that? She shrugged. Medical robots are as bossy as they come, but they can't make it stick unless you're really in some danger. I'm not. All the same, it would have taken me 20 minutes to get to the same point, if I'd ever gotten there at all. That's because you always let yourself get suckered into arguing with robots. I just give them orders. I'm much more efficient. I guess it is sometimes, Derek said. But you ought to know, in about 4 hours, your dimeral anesthesiac is going to wear off, and your skin is going to start feeling like someone scraping it off of a spatula. As Derek spoke, Florence entered, wordlessly laying a sleeveless jumpsuit and a pair of foot pillows on the end of the bed. Thanks for the warning. Let's make a point of being back in 3.5, Catherine said. Now get out of here while I change. By the time Catherine emerged from the ward, Derek had decided to go along with her proposal that they look for Animus's ship first. He had several reasons for surrendering. That ship was the last known location of the key, that even if the key had been found and removed, it would be logically kept nearby. But the most important reason was that if he didn't show her early that she was wrong, she'd soon be trying to order him around as she did the robots. The electronic map on the wall of the lobby offered little help. Rockcliffe Station was built out of 3 connected spheres. The central sphere, called C-section, contained some 40 levels from top to bottom. 2 satellite spheres, barely half as large, were anchored to it by cylindrical pylons only a few levels in diameter. Large areas within the ship's outline were colored black and labeled inactive. No amount of coaxing could persuade the map's controller to reveal what facilities were in those areas, or even show the traffic grid. Less than 15% of C-section was drawn in with the palest blue color, labels, and identifying symbols of the active zone. Most of E-section, which contained the known docking facilities, was blue, but W-section, together with its connecting pylon, were completely black. There, Catherine said, pointing to W-section. They probably had an east terminal and a west terminal. Symmetrical design, Derek agreed. Makes sense. It's a good place to start anyway. Let's hope that those sections are just closed down, not closed off. The hospital was located near the center of C-section, 3 levels down from the main thoroughfare. Together, Catherine and Derek climbed up to the main level and headed west. There were no physical barriers, though the 4-lane express sidewalk was not operating, obliging them to walk. But past the boundary of subsection 42, the corridor lights were off and the directional light worms were off. Based on what he'd seen during his early excursion, Derek had thought that might be the case. He hoped for either a local control option or a presence sensor, but in vain. With 18 subsections of blackness ahead of them, they were forced to turn back. They recruited the first robot they encountered to show them where hand lanterns were kept, and soon returned to the subsection 42 threshold. The beams of the powerful portable light stabbed deep into the cave-like corridor and created a cozy island of light around them. But they were very aware of the darkness beyond, and the way their footsteps echoed hollowly, the chill of the unused spaces they were entering. 10 minutes of walking brought them to the great triple pressure-sealed doors at the outer boundary of C-section. The doors were resting retracted in their grooves, apparently deactivated. Past the inner lock, the throughway narrowed to a single-lane sidewalk in each direction, with far fewer jump-offs and side passages than before. Derek expected to find robots guarding the entry to a W section and told Catherine so, but when they reached the far end of the sidewalk they were still alone. The West docks were there, just as they had guessed, but the main public entrance to the complex was not even locked. "No guards, no locks," Derek said as they stood on the threshold. "This looks very bad. Maybe they had one of the tugs take the ship and stand off 100 clicks from the base." "Let's find out," Catherine said, starting ahead. If the West docks were being held for possible military use, as Dr. Gallant had implied, it was merely as a line item on some logistics officer's list of resources. There was no sign that the complex had been, or ever would be, anything other than a general-purpose cargo and passenger transfer node. All the familiar facilities were there: input, port registry, customs, then travelers' personals. Catherine led Derek past the unstaffed security stations and up the loading ramp to the upper concourse. Along the length of the high-ceilinged room were 6 check-in stations, 6 glassed-in waiting areas, and 6 two-story viewports, each of which looked out onto an enormous docking slip in the space beyond. All 6 slips were empty and dark. Nothing could be seen through the viewports except a few dim and distant stars. "Downstairs?" Derek asked. Her lips pressed into a tight line. Catherine answered by leading the way back down the ramp. The lower concourse seemed like a mirror image of the upper. All 6 bays on the lower concourse were dark, but one was not empty. "Bingo," Derek said, sprinting through the check-in station and up the boarding tunnel. "I don't understand," she said, dogging his heels. "Where are the guards? There ought to be guards." "Maybe they're inside," Derek said, pulling up short. The boarding tunnel was connected to the emergency hatch they had seen being installed, and across the lock's side seam there was a security seal. It was a token seal, however, meant only to give them notice that the hatch had been opened. It could not stop them from going aboard. Nothing inside had been disturbed, it seemed, since they had been found and removed. What did that matter? Except for cracks in the 3 screens above the great command console, it did not even seem as though there had been an explosion on the main deck. Yet there are dozens of blackened, fist-sized pits in the walls and ceiling to mark where the charges had been. "You don't blow up your house because a burglar breaks in," Catherine observed. "Aramus's security would have been tailored to his own species, whatever you want to call what we tripped. Radiation bombs, maybe? Must have been designed to kill or disable an Aranu without doing serious damage to the ship. Did a good enough job on us." Though they could not find Aramus's stylus, or whatever locked the deck plates in place, had apparently been disabled when the ship powered down. 20 minutes later they had torn up the whole floor, but found nothing. "Shall we put it back?" Catherine asked, gesturing to the mess they had created. "No point. The robots are going to know we were here anyway. They have the key, don't they?" "Almost certainly. If they don't, Jacobson does." Catherine sighed. "How are we ever going to find it? The size of the station! Even if we're just lying in open view in a corridor somewhere, it'd take us weeks to find it. And you know they've hidden it better than that. There's lots of places they could put it that you can be sure they didn't," Derek said, looking around the main cabin one last time. "They won't leave it unattended, you can count on that. Not like they left the ship. Do you have any idea why they let us in here?" Derek nodded slowly. "I think so. To send us a message that tells just how harmless they think we are. There's nothing we can do to them." He sighed. "And they may just be right. Let's get out of here, huh?" Okay, that's the end of chapter 16. Finally got around to finishing it! Yay! And yeah, that's about it. Hopefully I'll do chapter 17 and maybe 18 also soon. Then, yeah, there's only like 5 chapters left, so hopefully it'll be done soon. That's all for now. Bye.